Throughout the process of managing legislation records, you'll need to locate existing records in order to update them. And there's a couple different ways to do that. The first method is to use the search bar. As in previous examples, you can type pretty much anything you want into the search bar and it should find relevant results for you. The surest bet is to go ahead and type in a keyword from the name of the piece of legislation that you're looking for. So if I'm looking for the anti-smoking ordinance, I may just type smoking. And it's always a good habit to go ahead and throw an asterisk on the end of there, as that will broaden the search. Sure enough, it pulls up the record that I created in the previous example. So I go ahead and open that up, and now you can see that if I click edit, I can go ahead and update some of this information. So in the previous example, we only gave instructions on which fields to fill out when you're actually creating a new record. Some of these other fields, you kind of fill them out as you go along based on the status of the record that you're looking at. So if we go ahead and change this to introduce the council, then you should be able to go ahead and put a date when it's going to be introduced or when it was introduced. At this point, there should be formal legislation language. Obviously, it'll be more descriptive than that. Again, you can kind of modify the internal notes. And again, this field is not for ongoing commentary. That'll be done through a different method that I can show you. This is really more for sort of static description internally of how the district office views this piece of legislation. If it's introduced and co-sponsored by another member, you can go ahead and add an additional council member. The type of legislation likely wouldn't change from what it was when you created new, though you certainly could update that if necessary. At this point, it will not have gone to committee review yet if it's still introduced at council. But if we did change that status to reviewed by committee, then you should know what the date of the committee review was. You know which committee it actually went to. So let's say it was governmental or economic development. The committee recommendation might have been to pass it, and you can say whatever notes you have. This should be any official findings that the committee came up with, and any kind of areas where they've identified their issues of concern. So at this point, if the status were to be changed to added to council docket, then you would likely have a date of when the council vote is to take place, and once the vote has actually taken place, then you should be able to show who actually voted for and then who actually voted against. You want to go ahead and make sure that you don't duplicate anybody on either of these lists. And if anyone happened to abstain, then you can certainly just leave them off. The effective date allows you to say when the ordinance may go into effect. If there's any follow-up needed during the period between when it was voted on and when it goes into effect, or even after it goes into effect, you can go ahead and add some notes here. There may be some additional provisos or caveats that get added to this that need to get worked out by the council. And then in the event that it's issued an ordinance number by the mayor's office, you can go ahead and add that here as well. So that shows you how to update a legislation record. And again, there's a relationship between these status values and which fields you actually do fill out here. So we can see that in this case, it was voted for, who voted for it and 3 against. So we can go ahead and change that to passed. So when you click save, you'll see a kind of completed view of this record. And the other thing to take note is that you can certainly find records other than using the search through the views on the legislation tab. So you can see that there are a handful of views here. Under consideration, introduced to council, reviewed by committee, added to council docket, and tabled legislation. And these pretty much map directly to the different status options that are available on each of these records. So sure enough, now we don't have a view for past legislation that's been passed or failed, because at this point you're just managing these to see any legislation that's upcoming that needs action by the council. Now, if we were to open up that record that we just edited, and let's say the status hadn't been passed yet, but it was actually added to the council docket, then when you go back to that view, you can actually see that that record is indeed on this view. And then again, if I update that status to passed, then it'll no longer show on that view because it no longer meets the criteria. For a full explanation of which views are available and what they do, go ahead and consult with the written instructions. This has been how to locate and update a existing legislation record. Please move on to the next piece of or the next instructions in this series, which are how to use reports and dashboards with respect to legislation.